First thing I want to do is thank our YouTube audience for all of the prayers, condolences, cards, well wishes that you sent, really from around the world. It was very gratifying to hear from all of you in our challenging time. And it just makes us appreciate our live audience. And I assume all of you out there in YouTube land are live also, but we are not having a personal connection like here. But we are having a connection, and we really felt it through our loss of our son. So today I would like to pick up where I was going to talk 2 weeks ago, I guess. Desire, expression, and attraction. And I hope I can say what I want to say. I hope I can get it out properly, because it's kind of an intricate subject, a combination of ideas, because we often treat them differently, treat them as separate things when actually they all work together. And that's what I hope to accomplish here, and to do it in a way that you can leave with something practical. You leave with something that actually means something to you, because there's a trend that in the New Thought, New Age type of ministries and teachings, writings, and so on, that equates our thinking with, money and how to get rich and how to be successful and all this, which is very important. But there's something more important than that, because Jesus said something pretty interesting. He said to seek first the kingdom, and all the rest will be added. And we sometimes miss that message by seeking the all things, seeking the material counterpart, the way to get through life. And we all need that. That's definitely a part of the process of living. And he said that will come too. But put this seeking first the kingdom as a priority. And so that's really kind of what we're basing this whole idea on. But first, let's tackle the law of attraction. There's been much written about the so-called law of attraction. The law of attraction usually involves techniques of setting one's intention on a positive mental and emotional environment that will draw success and riches. And a key word, trigger word here is intention. You hear a lot about that. And it's a very important word. We don't want to minimize any of these ideas. But intention, when we really examine it, what we need to examine is, where's the intention coming from? Intention, we can all focus on the idea that it is focus. It's a focus on something, and it's focus from something. It's focus from an awareness that we have. And we can use this word intention and the act that it describes from a very materialistic level. And so it's a good thing to have, but it's a good thing to understand. We want to understand what it means, what we're doing with our mind concerning the manifestation process, concerning how do we live as spiritual beings in this material universe, in this material world. That's really the most difficult question that all of us have. Yes, I'm a spiritual being, but how does that put groceries in my refrigerator and cupboard? There's a pretty big disconnect there. So we have this physical life that we're living, and then we go off and read our spiritual books. It's kind of like two different worlds, and we want to be able to bring those two worlds together. That's really what we're looking for. There's two sides of desire, and I think this could be a topic all by itself. On the other end of the scale, there's also spiritual disciplines that consider desire as a negative trap inside the maze of materiality. Expression as we'll consider it here, is often the piece that is overlooked. So I have read writings from certain religions. Here I think we have Buddhist being depicted in the picture, Buddhist monk with his begging bowl. And so you strip yourself of desire, but you still have to eat. You know, that's what they're doing, and they're figuring out a way to address that just in a different way. So there are some people that say, some teachings, I should say, that say any kind of desire, any kind of material desire is a negative. It pulls us down to earth. It pulls us down to a lower vibration. And it does, and it will, if we don't understand what we're doing with it, if we don't understand how we're looking at it. So there's the one side of, I set my intention to get my Ferrari, and the other side, I'm going to move up on top of a mountain and contemplate my navel for the rest of my life. You know, no material possessions at all. So it's two sides of not even really the same coin, but it's two sides of the same question. How do we deal with this? How do we live in this world but not be so manipulated by it that that's all we're thinking about? And I can tell you that through the loss of our son, that is really a big question that comes up, because you know, it forces you to look at the material realm in a way that you've never, or that I've never really looked at before, never had to. I've tried to do it with other people going through it and all. And I don't wish this on anyone, but when a crisis occurs, it takes us down to ground level. You know, it causes us to ask questions like we never asked them before, and from a place that we're not typically asking from. And crisis can be a very blessed thing. And again, I would not wish any kind of crisis on any person, but I have seen, not only in myself, but I've seen in other people, when they hit rock bottom. Isn't that kind of what some of the support message is, support group message? You hit rock bottom, and that's when you turn around, you know, because there's no place else to go. And when you hit rock bottom emotionally, it's the same thing, you know, emotionally through some a loss or some financial problem or whatever that happens to be. But whenever you're pushed to your limits, you're pushed to your limits of faith, and then you start waking up to reality, to a deeper level. And that's a very important thing. The good news is we don't have to be pushed that way. We become willing students, you know, in how to look at ourselves on this planet as we walk through life. So desire can be a two-edged sword, especially when it is disconnected from its spiritual source, and this is the key. In short, we desire more in life because our spiritual essence continually calls us to rise above restrictions we've accepted as normal to the human experience. So I was thinking about this, the caterpillar and the butterfly, that transition they go through. It's one animal, one creature, having two entirely different sets of needs. How we define success and riches is relative to how we define ourselves. So do we define ourselves from the caterpillar mentality? I need a Ferrari. We're not talking to you. You don't need a Ferrari anyway. Now you made me lose my train of thought. So we have the needs of the caterpillar, and we have the needs of the butterfly. We have one animal, but coming from two different places. How do you define yourself? The caterpillar may desire and achieve a garden filled with heads of lettuce. It can eat all at once. But the acquisition of an abundance of lettuce will not fulfill the caterpillar's need to become all it can be. Yes, the lettuce is necessary. The caterpillar needs to eat. But that's not its intention, to focus on what it eats. to get through the caterpillar stage. Its intention is to be aware that it's more than a caterpillar. There's something more. And that's what we're driving at here. We are a caterpillar in the sense that we are human beings. We're occupying this body. And the garden full of lettuce looks pretty good. And yet, as Jesus said, man does not live by bread alone. The caterpillar does not live by lettuce alone. If it did, if that was all it did, it would never become what it fully can be, and that's evolve into a butterfly or transform into a butterfly. At the root of all desire is our need for freedom. If we connect freedom with the acquisition of things, we may get the things, but not the freedom. This is where expression comes into play. So freedom is not found in the acquisition. We desire freedom. You can translate everything you desire, as I have said before, into the desire for peace and the desire for freedom. You feel that this thing that you're desiring will give that to you. That's why we desire it. But what the bottom line is, we desire peace and freedom. And we think this thing will help bring it. And it's not that we push that away, because it may. But freedom is found in the ability to be flexible in what we acquire. I doubt you're going to find many butterflies with their intention set on lettuce patches. Any of you seen a butterfly eat lettuce? They have different ideas about what's good. The flower garden, yes, they love those. But the caterpillar may hang out in the flower garden, but only if there's something that looks like lettuce or something green that's edible. Same animal, two different needs altogether. So if the caterpillar says, once and for all, my whole existence, I want all the lettuce I can eat, that's only going to be good for a short run while he's a caterpillar. So what he wants really is freedom. The freedom to be able to adjust to the needs that come as a butterfly. And that's where we get locked up. A lot of times I think we think of ourselves, okay, I've got this physical need, and yes, we do. I enjoy a salad. The lettuce is fine. But I will not always be this. There's something more to me. There's something more to me. So I'm really desiring freedom. I want to meet the needs of my caterpillar self, but I also want to meet the needs of my butterfly self. And so the food of the butterfly in this illustration, and every illustration will break down in some way or another, but think of the butterfly as your soul, the spiritual awakening. It's that part of you that becomes what it is here to become. The caterpillar in the pupa stage, the cocoon, whatever we call it, that's a phase it goes through, and every one of these phases are important for the thing to fully express, fully be all that it is. And so that's we're not discounting any of this. We're trying to understand how to think of it now. If we're in a caterpillar mentality, how do we think about this butterfly self? Is it something that is totally out of our reach? The answer to that is no. And the reason we know that is because we desire the freedom that it's offering. We desire the freedom the soul has already enjoyed, the soul already experiences. And we feel that. We feel that as a radiance of inner light, the desire to be more. The desire to have more is the desire to be more. And so many people get hung up in the desire to have more. It's not the same as being more. It's not the same as experiencing the freedom of saying this or something better. That's what we want the state we want to get in. It's not really a matter of desire at all in the sense of desiring this thing or that thing. We all desire things. If my car broke down today, I would desire to get it fixed. There's nothing wrong with that. I do not desire to catch a bus, and take a cab wherever I go. I desire the freedom of having my own car. So is that somehow negative? Is that somehow wrong? Because I have a physical body, I kind of need a car. I can walk, but I don't want to. Not too far anyway. I need to more than I do, but I don't because I have a car. Why walk when you have a car? So you get what I'm saying. It's like there's nothing wrong with desire. And why do I want to fix my car? Because I want freedom. I want greater freedom. That my car will get me faster, get me wherever I'm going faster than I can get there myself. So that will free up more of my time and more of my things I can do that I desire. But the desire itself is not negative to have, because what I'm really desiring is greater freedom. Now, what I may take this a step further and say, okay, my car broke down and I'm miserable. Okay, can I be free from that? Do I have to get my car fixed to be free? That's where we get hung up, because then we put a condition on our freedom. Yes, I have to get my car fixed, then I'll be peaceful and free. And I admit that I prefer to have my car fixed, because when it's not, it raises all kinds of issues, all kinds of problems. But any time we find ourselves in a situation like this, if we can ask ourselves, is it possible for me, before I get this thing resolved, to experience freedom? Is that possible? Is it possible in the caterpillar stage to come to grips with the fact that I am a butterfly, that I am living at this moment as a caterpillar, but I have something really to look forward to? And we're not, in the spiritual sense, saying that this has to be a futuristic kind of thought. We're saying that that which we seek right at this moment is present. And again, a crisis, it kind of sorts out in our thinking what's important and what's not. It hits us in a way that we ask ourselves that question. We start looking at things. Is this really this important? Is this important enough to get upset over? I was trying to contact the IRS yesterday, I think it was, and ended up on the telephone for 2 hours. I spoke to a human being for about 2.5 minutes. I listened to their music over and over and over. I went to sleep last night and I dreamed about it over and over and over. So it didn't just leave me then, it followed me. And I started thinking during that process, I don't feel very free. And how do I experience freedom? Well, there's ways to do it. First of all, you think, well, it doesn't really matter. If they don't get the information I'm trying to give them, it's their problem, not mine. Well, I don't know if that's true or not, but theoretically, it'll save them money if they get the information that I have for them. But they don't care about that, first of all. And that's one of the first steps to gaining freedom. The people I'm talking to don't care about me personally, basically. They are on another place, in another place. I care about me, which is why I would be a little anxious about sitting on the telephone for 2 hours listening to elevator music. But can I be free from that? Can I be free in a situation that mundane? Well, you put them on a speakerphone, you lay it on a table, and you just wait. And you go about your business, do whatever, carry the phone with you or whatever. But don't stay glued to it, first of all. Attain some level of freedom there. And I'm not criticizing them or anybody else. Everybody that's doing that job is doing what they're told and they're doing what they have to do. And I guess we all should be thankful for that. But there's a lot of ways to fall into bondage, is what I'm saying. And there are ways that we don't even think about. So are you still a butterfly when you're waiting for a human being to pick up the phone and answer your question? Are you still a butterfly? And the answer, of course, is yes. If you're a free soul, can you be a free soul now? I think it was Emerson said that if you want to be a great soul now. So do you want to be a free soul? Can you be a free soul while you are in that kind of situation? And we don't really think about asking ourselves those kinds of questions in those kinds of settings, because all we want to do is get out of it. We want to resolve it, finish it, fix it, get done. We want the head of lettuce so we can start making our salad. But is freedom hinging on that head of lettuce, hinging on that resolution of the problem? And in most cases, we would have to say, yes, it is. When I get this resolved, I'll be able to breathe again. I'll be able to, do my stuff that I want to do. But if we remember, the freedom is not in the acquisition. And we're talking about every level, all the very basic levels and the very big levels that we tend to think about. Freedom is not in the acquisition, it's in the revelation that I am the butterfly, I am the free soul now. And can I actually make the transition into experiencing that? And the answer there, again, is yes, we can. Will we? That's another question. Will we do that? Will we take the time to do that? But that ball is always in our court. That's the beauty of this teaching, and that's also the hard part of this teaching. The ball's always in our court. It's so easy to think if this situation will just change, if I can just do something to make it different. Again, that's what you go through when you lose somebody. It's like, I wish this hadn't happened, but there's nothing you can say to make it go away. And so what do? Am I still a butterfly, or am I going to live as a caterpillar? And I'm going to live as a caterpillar for a while. But I am that butterfly. I am one who is able to see past the physical into something greater, and to know the truth of that. And I hope I conveyed that through my the message that I gave you guys last week. That's this is the first time in my ministerial career I've actually had to do this. I've been faced with this side of it. I've sat with many people on the side Beth and I were on. And it's just one of those things. Nobody wants to go through it. But I think I can sit with somebody now a little bit better, with a little clearer understanding, of what they're going through. And, what a heck of a way to get it. But that is, we all have things like this that we're going to have to deal with in some way. And it's not a bad thing. Life is bigger than this. There's pain involved in that change and that loss. But the pain is usually me thinking of my loss, me thinking of myself, me thinking of Beth's loss and the family and all the people involved. But when I think of what our son probably gained, I start getting happy. I start feeling better. I start feeling like, he's a butterfly. He has accomplished something that we're all going to accomplish. We're all going to step into that phase. And that's most of the grief that we experience around the funeral services is grief for ourselves, for our loss. And that is a lot of what a funeral service is designed to do, is help us deal with that. It's very difficult to deal with that. I've always had trouble dealing with that with people that have gone through a loss. I try to put myself in their place, and you just can't do it. But the beauty, what I can do and what I have done is studied what it means to lose your body. And that study has been invaluable to me, that it's not death. There's not any such thing as death. And I think that's one of the things that hit us, whether we're dealing with life and death or we're dealing with the loss of a situation that we prefer to be in. There's life after that. There's life beyond that. And we get so riveted sometimes in what we have, we forget who we are. We sit there and we love that big head of lettuce. But there is a butterfly waiting to come out. And what's interesting about that is you have to die to that butterfly self, or you have to die to that caterpillar self, I should say, in order to become the butterfly. We go through a transition. And that's one of the beauties of this illustration is you go into this cocoon, into this place of quiet, where the world just really doesn't exist except there. I'm assuming. I don't know what they go through, but it looks like a time of peace, time of quiet, a time when you're not dealing with the caterpillar problems anymore, and you're not concerned about what you're going to become. You go into this place and you open yourself to the process. Something bigger takes over. And it shows you that this is nothing like an end. It's not an end. One thing I was thinking about our son is, I think of him as a book that I have read. I read the beginning and I've read the end. And the book is closed. It's on my shelf. Not done with it. I remember everything I experienced in that book, but it isn't a book with a beginning and an end. All of you are open books in my life. I'm still reading you. We're still communicating. But the time comes when the book is closed. It'll be closed on all of us. But does the story end there? It doesn't. And that's a very powerful realization to have. And it's, we have memories, we have just the awareness of that person that has passed into and through your life. That'll never go away. But I do not want to cling to that what if, or, it should have not been this way. I have seen people do that, and I'm not just trying to be strong with it. It is the way to freedom. Does the caterpillar that watches his buddy turn into a butterfly mourn? May not understand it, but I doubt he mourns. And so that's how I'm thinking of it. I'm not trying to make myself think of it in any particular way. That's what comes to me. And I really appreciate my near-death studies, and I just highly recommend anybody that is considering these kinds of ideas to look at that literature, listen to the people that have gone through this, and come back and talk about it. Life doesn't end here. And life doesn't end with that total failure you may have gone through. I've been through a few of those myself as well, and they hurt, and we don't want to go through them. But isn't it interesting that you often come out as a butterfly on the other side? Something you don't want to go through, you're afraid to go through it, you fight it. It's sort of like throwing up. You just don't want to do it, but you feel so much better after you do. Why did I say that? But you all understand what I'm talking about, right? All right, what's the next one here? Expression. Expression is the actual experience of the freedom we desire. Is it possible to experience freedom when there are material restrictions in place? We turn from material appearances and release attachments to specific outcomes until we express internally the freedom we desire. This inner experience and expression of freedom is the governing influence of the law of attraction. Okay, what I'm saying here is it's not what you have, it's how you feel. It's how you perceive yourself. That's what invokes the law of attraction. And it doesn't invoke it. The law of attraction never stops. But we influence the way it works in 1,000 ways. And if we are feeling we are inadequate and we have to have more, and so we set our intention on getting more, we're setting up a vibration. We are setting up an attraction. And that attraction is based on lack. That feeling of attraction is based on I'm not enough, I don't have enough. And so I need to get more to be whole. And so that is what really influences the law of attraction. You don't start the law of attraction. We don't invoke it. It's always happening. And it's responding always to how we see ourselves, how we're thinking of ourselves at any given time. So we do not invoke the law of attraction. Like gravity, this law never ceases to operate. We work with gravity by achieving balance, setting objects of value in places they will not fall and break, and by putting aerodynamic wings on the airplanes for lift. We do not invoke the law of gravity, we cooperate with it. So it's always in play, it's always going, and we're either working with it or we're working against it. But we never start it. It's always happening. You know, you put that vase on the shelf in a safe place, because if it gets pushed a little bit, it'll fall and break. So you're aware that the law of gravity is happening right now. It's in full effect right now. So we work with that, and we work with it in a way that works for us rather than against us. The law of attraction, same thing. It's always going, it's always working. How are we setting our consciousness up? Are we coming from a place of lack and inadequacy, pain and sorrow and anger, or whatever it is that we're, any negative state that we might be coming from? Because we are working with the law of attraction at that moment as well. So we desire freedom. Where does that start? It starts within. It starts with an understanding of who and what we are. We are the butterfly, the spiritual being. Expression is the primary influence on attraction. Likewise, we become internally that which will reflect externally as the types of conditions we desire. Freedom within attracts conditions of freedom without. That's the hardest thing about this whole idea, is you're in a situation that is pushing all your negative red buttons, you know, all your red flags are flying. And you're saying, I would like to be free from this, but I've got to get rid of this condition first. So can we sit down and let go and be still? Not leave the problem unresolved, but to approach it from an entirely different level. To set up a whole new frequency of attraction. You know, that's really what it amounts to. So the problem is there, and you say, I'm going to do my best to experience freedom even with the situation as it is. The time comes, if you work with this, you will experience that inner freedom. And the inner freedom will manifest as outer freedom. Either the problem will be resolved, you'll get a brainstorm, you'll figure out how to walk through it. Somebody will remind you of something you forgot, or you'll see a billboard somewhere that has a line on it that makes you think of something that, some idea you'd forgotten that inspires you to think in a different way. You never know how the change will occur. But if the change occurs in you first, you can be guaranteed that the change in the outer does come. And who cares how it comes? Who cares who inspires it or how it gets inspired? The first choice that we have is rising above the bondage we are in internally, achieving freedom within. We desire more because we are more. Desires should not be suppressed. Let's not go around the world with our begging bowl and, trying to get by on nothing. So desire should not be suppressed. It should be understood. We desire more because we are more. We never want to deny that. At the root of all desire is the soul seeking greater expression. As we let the light of the soul shine, the natural law of attraction becomes our friend. Okay? I gave you the key to the kingdom right there. And that is absolutely true. So let's work on that this week. If you're involved in something, I don't really want to be involved in anything like I have been involved in the near past. but it's been a real lesson teacher, and not one I would ever pick down. But we can learn something from everything, and I think that's a very important thing to keep in mind. Thank you for watching this week's program. If you enjoyed this video, please share it with others. We want to reach as many people as we can, and we appreciate your help. If you'd like to help support this ministry, just click the donate card at the top right-hand corner of your screen. Your financial support means a lot to us. We have many subjects in our video lineup, so feel free to take a look. If there's a topic you don't see and would like me to address, just put it in the comment section. I'd love to know what's on your mind. To subscribe to this channel, simply click our logo. Thanks again for your interest in Independent Unity, and have a wonderful week.